Hey everybody, it's Christina Holloway here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about what gaslighting looks like at work and how to respond so that you feel confident in your approach for handling this type of behavior. We're going to talk about what it is, how gaslighting is used to hold you back, and 3 ways to respond so you can hold on to your sanity. Real quick, if you enjoy this content and want to learn more about how to make power moves in your career, make sure to follow my channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video from me. Don't forget to download your free communication toolkit, which teaches you the 5 ways to communicate with impact and confidence as you build trust, authority, and influence to grow your career. All right, so let's get started. First, what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is a technique that people use to throw you off, make you look bad, project problematic situations or decisions onto you, or to maliciously set you up to take the fall for something they did. That's a lot. It's passive aggression, but on a steroids. The people who typically use gaslighting at work to undermine others while they promote themselves are kind of easy to identify. They show signs of the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellian tendencies, and psychopathy, or any combination of the 3. So pretty big stuff. Let's look at each one. Narcissism is pretty easy to spot. This is a person who completely talks about themselves at every opportunity. They just cannot help inserting how great they are into every single situation. While narcissism can look like a person has significant confidence in their abilities, in reality, this person is deeply insecure, which is why they constantly need to remind everyone, but mostly themselves, about how great they are. Also, they're not great. They're mediocre at best. Machiavellian tendencies are defined by the behaviors seen in Machiavelli's book, The Prince, which outlines an approach of winning at all costs. The end result is to win and to use any means necessary, including being underhanded or manipulative, because that's fair game. If that includes using gaslighting, then that makes sense to them. Psychopathy is a little less common in the workplace, and before you argue with me, I'll explain why. I know, I felt like I've dealt with psychopaths as well. Here's the thing. While narcissism and Machiavellian tendencies can be categorized as personality disorders or disordered behavior, psychopathy can actually be a mental illness with a medical diagnosis. And we really want to talk about people in the workplace as being more likely to have psychopathic tendencies without the official diagnosis. We're slightly giving them the benefit of the doubt here. Again, psychopathic tendencies means this person's been conditioned to believe that disruptive behavior, broken relationships, and underhanded techniques will get them far. This usually backfires on them eventually, but for those of us who've had to deal with them, not soon enough. In terms of gaslighting, any one of these personality traits will refuse to take responsibility for anything that goes wrong, and they'll usually use gaslighting as a way to deflect negative attention away from themselves and onto someone else. Here are some examples of ways they'll use gaslighting against you to save their own ass. You're being too sensitive about this. What's wrong with you? Don't take it so personally. I was just joking. Can't you take a joke? Oh well, whatever, it's no big deal and you're focusing on the wrong thing anyway. You seem unstable or unhinged or unbalanced. Seriously, also, that's projection. Obviously, you misremembered the situation. That is not what happened. We never had that conversation. You must be thinking of someone else. You seem overly emotional about this. Is it that time of the month? Someone said that to me once, followed by, can't you take a joke? If you've experienced any one of these situations, and you probably have if you're watching this video, then I'm here to say no, you're not crazy. At this point, we've identified who behaves this way and why. And that's always the most important way to deal with any situation. Once you have them figured out, what motivates them to behave this way and why they've directed it towards you, then you can figure out a strategy to deal with it. Real quick, if they've started directing this behavior at you, rest assured it's because you've pierced or threatened their imaginary world where they win, and because you're now a perceived threat to them, they believe they have no choice but to undermine you in order to eliminate the threat, you. Second, how do toxic people use it to hold you back? Like I said, they need to eliminate the threat. Gaslighting is intended to undermine your credibility, your professionalism, your reputation, and any efforts you've made to create a strong personal brand at work. It's one of a collection of techniques a toxic person will use to confuse you and throw you off your game. Once the gaslighting takes hold, you'll start to question yourself, and you might start to see your boss or peers tell you, get the facts straight next time. At this point, you're going to feel like you're going a little crazy, or that your professionalism is starting to slide. Don't worry, it's not. Once you start to doubt yourself, you may start spending excessive amounts of time worrying about unnecessary details that have distracted you from the bigger stuff, and that's when they've got you. It's a distraction technique intended to keep you out of their way. What are some effective ways to address gaslighting? Most importantly, you are not going to get them to stop this behavior. They rely on it to win, and it works for them. What we're about to talk about is using methods that will help you stay confident in this situation so you can show up owning your power and then take steps to eliminate this person, situation, and behavior from your orbit as much as humanly possible. My goal here is to help you feel empowered in a difficult situation, and I want you to feel like you defended yourself and stood up for yourself during a difficult situation. Number 1, have a response for the gaslighting statements using in-the-moment boundaries. I'm going to give you some statements to make when someone clearly tries using gaslighting to throw you off. These statements will not stop the behavior. That's not what you're trying to do. These statements are intended to let the person know that this technique won't work on you. That's your goal. Toxic people who use this behavior will try these techniques on people they think won't fight back. Once you put up a strong front, they may give up and find another victim because that's how they operate. It wasn't a funny joke. It was inappropriate. I can't take you seriously when you attack me in that manner. We'll need to have a follow-up conversation to find clarity because I disagree. This sounds like workplace harassment to me. Are you sure that's what you meant to say? I don't have to rely on my memory because I have documentation. You don't get to talk to me that way. Let's reconnect later after you've calmed down. Only use the statements that you feel comfortable delivering, and don't worry if this person makes you so unnerved that you can't say anything. That's a real possibility, and it's okay. Worst case, walk away and don't dignify the remark with an answer. That simple act will suck the air out of their behavior when the object of their gaslighting just leaves. Number 2, understand the underlying cause of the gaslighting. This one is important, and I've already touched on it. Once you figure out why they're targeting you with this toxic behavior, you'll have a better understanding of how to deal with it. Most of the time, it's because they feel threatened by something you said or something you did, or even something you witnessed. If the simple act of you just existing, or worse, thriving, suddenly turns into a problem for them, then they're going to start to act out. If you realize that someone has suddenly started acting more aggressively towards you, or they usually don't bother you, but suddenly they start behaving in an undermining manner, then you've impacted their sense of worth somehow. Don't try to fix the situation. That's not what this is about. This is about you understanding what happened. If you can come from a place of indifference when you interact with them, their behavior will lose power. They can still act the way they do, but if you don't care and don't take them seriously, then they can't hurt you. Number 3, if this becomes persistent and problematic, consider your options. Gaslighting can turn into harassment pretty quickly. So let's say you've used some techniques that help you maintain your power and confidence, and you've started documenting your interactions to ensure that the gaslighting doesn't work on you. Once the toxic person realizes that their gaslighting behavior isn't working, they'll do a couple of different things. They might decide that this is a fun game and double down on aiming this behavior towards you. They might realize that you have more leverage and they'll move on using their gaslighting techniques on someone else. Or they'll get mad and escalate into worse behavior. The best outcome you can hope for is that they get bored and move on. If that doesn't happen, you're going to need to start documenting the behavior, finding allies who will speak up on your behalf, and work with your boss to put you on projects where this person cannot target you anymore. You also want to have a conversation with your boss about the chances that you move away from this person. Ultimately, you'll want to figure out a way to either get promoted or moved away from this person, get a transfer that helps you work more effectively with a better group of people, or figure out an exit strategy, especially if you really don't have any support and you realize that this person is going to continue to create problems for you as you try to build wins for your career development. On a final note, your leadership skills depend on how you handle situations, not necessarily on how you fix problems. If you spend your time trying to fix this situation by continuing to engage with this person, changing your behavior, or committing to changing this person, it's a losing battle. You need to be able to assess the situation and then move forward with a plan. That's leadership. All right, so that's it for my video on how to respond to gaslighting at work. If you have an experience with gaslighting at work, feel free to share it in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. Don't forget to download my free communication toolkit, which I provided in the link below. And if you enjoyed watching this video and you found it helpful, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up by hitting the like button, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you never miss another video from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.